The live stream of exceptions has begun, and I'm on time. I'm even on time launching on Substack. I think we're up and running. Live chat will appear. Yeah, it's going to take a couple of minutes for everybody to come in. Eric of Manchester. Is that Manchester, England, or is that Manchester, New Hampshire? Which, by the way, is a cute little town if you've ever been there. I want to welcome you all to the exception stream. So I figured today's a good day to experiment with things. So this is going to be the experiment live stream because there's a whole bunch of things that I want to try with all of you. But how do we do that? First, we get ourselves into a state of positivity, lack of anxiety, however you want to describe it, where all the noise of the world doesn't really kind of affect us so much. And we do that by coming together around, that's right, it is Canada's new land acknowledgement. And what's so funny is the lack of attacks I'm getting. I get attacks from all sorts of stuff, but this, because it's so ridiculous, everybody seems to be afraid to attack on this issue. The whole idea of land acknowledgements is ridiculous, and the response. But this is our new Canadian land acknowledgement. For those of you who are new here, this is what's becoming, I think, official doctrine in Canadian universities. And it goes something like this: we'd like to gently acknowledge that we're standing on the traditional territory of whoever was here and savagely killing and genociding each other at the time. They aren't in charge anymore, so leave the rest of us alone. We're here until America is done with Cuba and Iran and wherever else they go. SIP. And for those who don't know, that SIP is in honor of our departed friend, Scott Adams, who was very enlightened in his podcast and the community that he built around himself. And he is very much missed at times like this. So today, when I say it's going to experiment, we're going to experiment today. Today might just be a total car accident, but who doesn't like watching a car accident, right? I'm going to be trying to share screens on two browsers that's going to, when I'm talking about certain topics. One of the things people asked about Whitney Cummings, so I think I've got that queued up. At least the link is queued, so it should work. And I have to do it on two browsers simultaneously because of the way that Substack works differently than Rumble. So I'm going to have to do both at the time. So it's going to be a little bit of a delay, but let's see. Let's see if this little experiment works. I think it will. But by the way, I checked all the news headlines. I'm sure you all did too as well. And once again, not one article about climate change hysteria. Weird, isn't it? It's weird that all of a sudden, that's forgotten. And I checked, by the way, the AOC prediction was 12 years that the world would end in a fireball. That was by the year 2030. Because apparently 2030, I don't know, it seems to be the year of the progressive messiah. Like everything comes to 2030. And you know what I think? I don't think it's because there's any predictive models around 2030. This is kind of the Scott Adams would call the hypnotist filter. It's just a nice round number. Like, that's it. It's far enough that, it becomes vague, anything can happen, but it's close enough that they can use it to infuse fear in you, and it's a round number, and I think that's why, the extremists, settled on this year 2030. But, and you also know why? There's another reason. Because none of it is real. I'm sorry to upset the progressives. Two things: Santa's not real, and the progressive messiah isn't coming in 2030. I apologize. By the way, do any of you use on your phone, for example, your phone or your computer, iPads, whatever you use, do you have your clock set to 12-hour or 24-hour? I'm always interested in that stuff. Hey, Al Gore's predicting the global freezing. Oh, is that? I thought that Manhattan was underwater in 2012. I'm checking my watch. They're a little bit late. You gotta love their predictive abilities. But anyways, I dated somebody many years ago who was raised on 24-hour time, and I was always both. And I gotta tell you, one of the things you learn when you have a business where all your employees are university students, You realize how I don't wanna it's not dumb, it's how distracted they are. The cerebral cortex is still not fully developed. They get easily distracted. They don't write things down, so they're running multiple threads in their head at the same time, sort of thing. And you learn when you have university students as employees that it's very important. Like, sometimes I would over explain things. I would tell them things they already know. I guess those of you who have kids know this too. And it's like, yeah, I know you know, but I'm telling you again because you're going to forget and you're not going to think of it. Right. So you always want to reduce the amount of friction in communication. And I try to be, at least with employees, very direct and repeat things over and over again and try to systematize things. And one of the things I found is 24-hour using a 24-hour clock. It seems stupid, like, oh, it's 12 p.m. and 12 a.m. Who doesn't know that? It's just like, well, who doesn't know how to read a sign when they're going through airport security? Do you never notice that all of us become really dumb when we're in airport security? We don't see signs that are right in front of us. Why is that? It's because it's called a PGO spike. It's a degree of shock and anxiety. It's like when you get in a car accident. That also causes it. So you're in a state of heightened anxiety, and you stop to think, right? And it seems to be university students are always in that state. So I just found, like, even though it seems like, well, it's always the trivial things that people don't think cause chaos. They cause the most amount of chaos because they compound on top of each other. So I'm just curious if anybody uses 24-hour, 12-hour, but I'm a ham radio guy, so I also speak UTC. Okay, well, there you go. So but you know what I mean. You'll understand that as well. I think most obviously militaries, aviation, all that stuff. They use 24-hour clocks. It just, especially in a country like China, where I don't know if people know China. Did you know China has one time zone when it should have something like seven? It has one time zone. So people wake up for work in one half of the country at 2 in the morning, and they wake up for work in the other half of the country like 9 in the morning and show up at like 11. Like, it's completely ridiculous. Thank you, communism and socialism. Like, it's just like another world, right? But you couldn't do that if everybody's on 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. It's another layer of friction. So see, it's a little thing, but the little things always compound. I don't know. I'm just interested to see who else uses 24-hour time, because it just, I don't know. For me, it makes things so much easier. And today was the first time. The reason I said that, I posted that the stream would be starting at 1300, and just curious to see if anybody knows that. All right, tech news. We got some tech news today. So first, according to TechCrunch, and we're going to get into some interesting stuff. We're going to do an experiment in a second. According to TechCrunch, Meta, which is formerly Facebook, has purchased a humanoid startup called Assured Robot Intelligence to beef up its AI models of robots. And this is according to an article in TechCrunch, and it says, "quote: We acquired Assured." This is Meta speaking slash Facebook. "We acquired Assured Robot Intelligence, a company at the frontier of robot intelligence design to enable robots to understand, predict, and adapt to human behaviors in complex and dynamic environments." What do you think about that? Would you trust a Meta robot? Would you trust a Facebook robot in your house? Like, let's compare it to, I don't know, Elon Musk with Optimus that they're working on, and he's always years late, but eventually delivers almost as promised. I think that's what happened with the Cybertruck. $40,000 is not exactly $90,000. I think that was the problem, but he got the product out there, and so there's no question in my mind he's going to be able to get the Optimus robot out there. But what do you think about Zuckerberg bringing out a robot? I personally think nope. Yeah, Flair says nope. Tell me what you think of this. This is my filter on it, and tell me if you agree or disagree. I think people, again, this is something that your unconscious mind, I think, will see it, that people have been so negatively impacted emotionally by Facebook. Right at the time when Facebook was dominating the social media marketplace after basically took it away from MySpace, that became almost the world central square, before I guess it went to Twitter for a little while. And I think so many people were just scarred emotionally by the excessive censorship and deplatforming by people on Facebook that I think it doesn't matter what Facebook does. People always remember that. They remember the emotion, the negative emotion. I think Facebook has a very, and Zuckerberg as well, have very powerful negative associations that it doesn't matter. You can't shake it. Once people feel that emotionally scarred by being deplatformed and not being able to communicate with their friends and families like they were, because a lot of people reconnected with extended family over Facebook. And once you deplatform them and they lose touch with family, friends, loved ones, that sort of thing, you're not going to forget that. And I think that's their biggest problem. I think people were so emotionally scarred that it's a company that's on permanent life support as a result from at least from my standpoint. That's how I see it. And I think that's why when you bring up and you say, how about a Facebook robot? Everyone's like, "Nope, nope, 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 no, thank you." It kinda like when, during the other, foobar of this was during COVID, when some genius thought the best spokesperson they could bring out for the, for the COVID vaccine was Bill Gates. Not because forget all the conspiracies about Bill Gates, forget about that stuff. Just the fact that you're into computers in the 1980s and he just made your life hell, right? Like he was the big a-hole who everybody was going to be open source and we're all going to share information and build a big kumbaya world. And that guy comes along and says, nope, I'm now putting everything in, I'm making my source code no longer open source. And now you can all give me money. Right? When people didn't expect it, when he said the opposite. I don't know if people don't realize the negative brand image of the flavor. Nope, nope, nope. Exactly. The only reason I occasionally this from SJV. The only reason I occasionally visit Facebook is for the connections to friends and families. Other than that, it's dead to me. And exactly. So you're one of the people who still has it. Imagine you're one of the people who has friends all over the world, and that ability to connect with your loved ones was stripped away from you because of censorship. So yeah, I think I just I don't understand how they see that being sustainable, at least the company of Facebook. More tech news. So Apple, we'll get into like the spicy stuff a little bit. Today's not too spicy, but maybe a little bit fun because I have some videos that we're going to experiment, as I mentioned. Tim Cook. Tim Cook is out at Apple or is just about to step out at Apple. What do you think about Tim Cook? Do you like Tim Cook? Do you think Tim Cook is woke? Do you think he's incompetent? Do you think he was great? Do you think he's amazing, a great spokesperson? Do you think he's creepy? I mean, everybody's heard all sorts of things about Tim. I personally think he was a very, very, very effective CEO in growing Apple. He grew Apple from something like $400 billion in market valuation to what's it up to today? Like almost $4 trillion in during his tenure. And yeah, okay, we understand inflation. There's massive money printing during the COVID years. Yeah, we get that. But still, that wouldn't compensate, I don't think, for their current valuation, product line, all that sort of stuff, right? And I also don't think Tim Cook is as woke as people believe he is. It's funny, we live in this world where people think just because somebody's gay that they're automatically woke. I know a lot of gay people who are not woke at all. They might be a little bit more on the liberal side, classical liberal side. I get it, but they aren't down with any of the collectivist, communist extremism, all the gender stuff, and the what's it called? The stuff with, let's say, gender modification of young people. They hate it more than anyone. And I wish people understood that some people in the gay community, they were in the 60s and 70s, they were definitely targeted by Western governments, put in mental asylums, electroshock therapy. So they're very sensitive to this issue. And when they see that the same institutions that did that to them are now trying to force this whole gender identity of people. Like they are the most strong opposers to what you see going on amongst this issue with dysphoria in the West. But I bet you a lot of people don't know that, right? But anyways, my point is Tim Cook. I don't think is nearly as woke evidenced by him working with the Trump administration to set up Mac Pro manufacturing in the United States. If you remember, he did that in the first term. By the way, Mac Pro was just canceled, but I'm sure they have a plant there in the U.S. now, and they'll be building something else. So Tim Cook, very successful CEO, deserves people's admiration in his ability to build a company. It was a very good choice. Now, there's a new CEO coming in September by the name of John Ternus, and if you are an Apple fan, like I am, despite using this Android thing. Um, Other than that, I will be going back to Apple, by the way. But anyways, this experiment with Android's killing me, to be honest. But Turnus is a product guy, and Tim Cook was not a product guy. He was a business structure, growth, production guy. Business production, manufacturing production, that sort of thing. That was his area, and I think also retail. Like that was his area. The specific product wasn't really his area of expertise. But Turnus, who's going to become the CEO, he's the one who was responsible for Apple bringing back ports on their laptops, which is probably the number one reason he has so much fanfare right now. He is a product guy. So we're probably we're going to probably see some things, some new emphasis on product, which is going to be nice. And, something else that stuck out to me, and I'm wondering if this is going to cause people, this is a good test. We talk about emotional framing and what people react to and not, what they're primed to believe and not. There's somebody at Apple, a very smart guy by the name of Johnny Srouji, and Johnny Srouji will now be head of hardware development, and very smart guy. He's the one where you see when they announced the M series chips, like Apple started developing its own series of chips again. That's him. Did you notice anything odd about John Srouji? Just found this out. Anything about Bitcoin today? I don't know. We can talk about a little Bitcoin a little later on if you want, towards the end. Ask me towards the end. Well, I don't know if anything's really going. There's a bunch of things I saw. I can't remember what they were, right? But anyway, so Johnny Srouji, if you saw his presentations on the M processors, there was something distinct about him. Did anyone catch it? I wonder. I bet you most people don't, and I wonder why it was never. I think I know why. It was never amplified, and that's Johnny Srouji's accent. And that's not. I'm not being critical of people with accents. We all have accents. So, all of you in the States tell me I have an accent. So we all have our way of speaking from where we grew up. Did you know that Johnny Srouji, well, if you saw the videos, you know who the guy is. Johnny Srouji, he is Christian Israeli. Yeah, that's right. There is that emotionally charged word that causes some people to slip into a vedic state as it presses right on their amygdala. I'm not sure too many of you are here, but there's a lot of people in the world that have been programmed that way. But that's right. He started at the IBM and R&D labs in Israel in 1990 to 1992. He worked at Intel Israel's Design Center from 93 on, and then he joined Apple in 2008, initially leading the development. I think that year's wrong. Was it the A, or maybe I'm thinking of the G5 chip? He joined in 2008, initially leading the development of the A4 chip, which was Apple's first in-house system. That was the first wave they did that before they went to Intel. And I think it's just interesting for the people who their amygdala gets activated when they hear the word Israel, which is what Tucker Carlson is trying to do, by the way. That's the hypnotist filter. He keeps saying Israel genocide, Israel genocide, Israel genocide, and every single podcast Tucker Carlson has done in the year of 2026 has been about Israel, because he's trying to program people to have an amygdala response when they hear the word. You want to know you want evidence that somebody's being paid for something. There's your evidence, right? But how do people who are all obsessed with the narratives around this country, the size of El Salvador, both in population and area wise, how do they process that he's a Christian Israeli? Can they even hear the word Christian, or are they so programmed with outrage that they just respond with a mental breakdown, almost a manic state? Because I've seen that a lot, right? And there are many other prominent Christian Israelis. By the way, just a side note, one that I think of, I've listened to when he gives his presentations online. He's named Jonathan Hessen. He's probably one of the country's most well-known news anchors, journalists, former diplomat. Very calm, cool. If you like Scott Adams, you would like Jonathan Hessen. Very calm, cool, collected, and practical. And he too is a Christian Israeli, and he's would you call him like a Walter Cronkite of Israel? I'm not sure, but very credible and very influential and very, very level headed, right? And I mentioned this just for the people who get sucked into the Podcastistan echo chamber, for them to realize something, and they won't realize it the first time. Maybe over time they will. None of what you hear is real. None of it. It's all fabricated and fake. Anyways, I mentioned this because I had a conversation with somebody who I haven't spoken to, who I love and have a lot of respect for. Yesterday, who's been very ill. I haven't spoken to him about 6 months, and he was just asking me about this stuff. So I figured it'd be interesting to bring it up. Any further news on you becoming a weekly Scott Adams school guest at SJV? Well, thank you. I think that's the idea. They asked me to come on this week again as well. So I got to let them know which day of the week. I'm thinking maybe, to do it on Fridays is really difficult, but I kind of like it because it allows me to go on, interact with them first. And then, those of you who want something to do afterwards can kind of join the stream here after. It's kind of like an after show, I guess. So either Wednesday or on Friday, one or the other, right? Anyways, Tucker Carlson claims Israel is trying to start a religious war between Christians and Muslims. Have you addressed the point? Yeah, he's full of shit. It's actually in the Muslim Brotherhood charter, their strategic plan for America, which was discovered in the Holy Land Foundation terrorism trials in 1991 or 92. And when the Holy Land Foundation was raided and all their documents were in the possession of the U.S. government, presented in evidence showing that the Muslim Brotherhood's strategic move to take over America was to weaponize the Palestinian-Israeli geopolitical issue. That's exactly why they were going to do it, to divide Americans. So there's someone who used to say, the people on the left, whatever they accuse you of doing is what they're doing, which is exactly what Tucker Carlson is doing. Right? He's accusing Israel of doing exactly what his funding mechanism is doing. It's pretty funny. And also, it's really wild. I think it was Jonathan who told me this, or discussed this at some point. There's many, many data points and examples of this, because people get this weird idea that Israel's a religious country. It's like Saudi Arabia, when I think statistically, it's 70% of Israelis, Jewish, Christian, all denominations, Druze, whatever. 70% of Israelis identify as secular, which kind of blows people's minds away. They don't understand it's a secular Western country, like most of the West. And what Hessen told me once, or told us in a group or something like that when I had met him, met him online, not like, we're having a conversation, that the largest landowner, this is one of many data points, the largest landowner in the city of Jerusalem. Who do you think the largest landowner in the city of Jerusalem is? That's right. It's the Orthodox Catholic Church. Sorry, the Orthodox Christian Church. That's That's the largest landowner. And in fact, when you go to Jerusalem, which is the old city, is divided into four quadrants. There's the Christian quarter, the Armenian quarter, the Jewish quarter, and the Arab quarter. The smallest is the Jewish quarter. The largest is the Arab quarter. And Arab being like Arab Muslim, because I don't know what's it, a million Muslims in the state of Israel or something like that who are Israeli citizens. And I stayed in the I stayed in the Christian quarter when I was there. Was the Christian quarter the Armenian quarter? No, it was the Christian quarter. And I was there when people were doing the pilgrimage to church on the weekend. That was pretty nice. If you're a big fan of history, I'm not a big religious guy, but I do like I do love history, ancient history especially. You only get to experience that when you're there. But yeah, it is a secular country, and the largest landowner in the city of Jerusalem is the I guess Greek Orthodox Church or Christian Orthodox Church, whatever it is. So, anyways, there is that's I don't know, that's a little bit more of a tangent that I wanted to get on, but there you go. So, Johnny Saruji, who is Apple's M chips just completely changed their hardware and made Apple into an amazing. If you're a computer guy, and all my IBM, my Intel friends or my Windows friends say Apple is a toaster still, whatever. It completely changed their product line. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. All right, China news. You want some China news? Someone once said, SJV, you're going to understand this. Yeah, this will ring true to you and a bunch of other guys. Mm, Hubby, that is part of it, but there's more to it. Hubby's saying, what is Tiger's incentive? He's been hypnotized by the Muslim Brotherhood propaganda. No, he's been financed by by the Muslim Brotherhood, and that's the Qatari money, the $15 million up front, and then the $85 million in financial commitments. The brainwashing comes from Alexander Dugin, which is why American officials were screaming at him when he was still at Fox. No, you're not going to Russia, because they knew he was talking with Dugin. And you'll notice everybody in Podcastan, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Lauren Chen, Lawrence Southern. There's a bunch of others that I'm missing. Everybody's got a bug up their ass about Israel. Every single one of them, had private time with Dugin. Think that's a coincidence? Scott Adams people will understand that, because what did Scott used to say? If you had 45 minutes alone with anyone and you had his skill set. A little bit of that going on. We'll explore more of that another time, but that's kind of the basics, right? And if you look at Dugin's Twitter feed, everything that's on his Twitter feed, it's just word for word parroted by Tucker Carlson at this point. You don't even have to watch his show, just go to Dugin's feed and you know what Tucker Carlson is saying. So one side does the work, the other side finances it. And that's kind of the symbiotic relationship between what's called the Red-Green Alliance. All right, let's go to China now. So I don't know if any of you heard, this might ring true. This might be familiar to some of you, SJV. I know for you for sure. And those of you who were supporters of our friend Scott, have you ever heard this phrase before? China is not safe for business. I think I remember hearing that somewhere by somebody who said he's going to Megyn Kelly as well did. Yeah, Megyn Kelly's had Dugin time. I think I remember hearing this phrase before. China is not safe for business, from a guy by the name of Scott Adams. Remember that? Remember he said he was going to work on that. This is why the framing, right? That framing, that Podcastan. This is how we know the strategy, because we can see it on all sides, right? So China is not safe for business is something that Scott Adams famously discussed frequently, as we know, in retaliation for fentanyl, and I think he was quite effective. People didn't understand how he worked and how he operated and how he was so effective, but it was quite ingenious. Well, according to the China Observer, I don't know what that publication is. My guess is it's an anti-communist regime, probably pro Eastern China, right? Otherwise known as Taiwan. The real China, because those are the people who should be leading the country. So apparently, this is according to China Observer. Apparently, in China, 95% of Chinese stainless steel used in food, so utensils and big spoons and stuff when you're cooking or whatever. Did you know apparently 95% of stainless steel utensils in China are poisonous? Did you know that? It's pretty wild. Let me see. So this is where I'm going to start to experiment. I'm going to stop this. Oh, hold on. Let's stop. How many times I got to click? Okay. Clicked it like 3 times. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is the experiment time for today. I'm going to go share screen, allow to share a window, and I'm going to do this window. Share this window. Okay. Now I have to do it on Rumble. See, I told you it's going to be, oh, shoot. Okay, you know what? So I just have to copy the link over. Oh, crap. Okay, let me unshare that. I told you we're going to experiment. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hold on, people on Substack. We're going to stop sharing that. I'm going to share this window, and then I'll be able to do it. Okay. So, all right, you can now see me there. And now I'm going to come here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab this. Where's the China one? There we go. I'm going to, oh God, this is going to be so laborious. It's crazy, but let me try. Let's see if this works. I'm going to stop right now and share. Let's see. Yes, working there. Good. Makes you want to go for dinner in China, doesn't it? All right, so you get the idea. China is it's not just safe for business, not safe for business. Apparently, it's not safe to go for Chinese food in China, or as they call it, food. So I don't know. I'm kind of I string the dog string beans in China. Yeah, we're gonna be polite, but keep showing us the gears behind the Scott Adams machine. You're the best, man. Yeah, so I thought that's a little bit interesting. So, do any of our utensils in North America? How many of them are made in China? Is this something that I don't know if you go to the dollar store and you're going to buy some utensils? Are they from China and irradiated, or the hell this is? I know they're not irradiated; they have high levels of manganese. But is somebody going to go and test their? You're going to test your utensils in the kitchen to see if they have high levels of manganese that may poison you. And so apparently it's because they're using industrial grade stainless steel for food preparation, just because it's cheaper. So yeah, Chinese utensils are basically made from Tesla Cybertruck panels or something like that. What a what a joke of an imploding country. It's just horrible. And now they've lost what 70% of their oil. Good luck. It's pretty wild, China. And maybe at some point there's so much dissent on the ground in China and has been for so long. People don't realize there are independence movements all over the country, everywhere from Inner Mongolia, Manchuria, obviously Tibet, and the government's been focused on quashing those things. So whenever you see somebody celebrating a Chinese police officer taking down like a protester online. People really are missing some context. So just some important context there that, anyways, I wish people would be more aware of what's going on in the world. All right, this is something I've been asked for. The dogs being streamers made in India. I don't know what that is. I don't know if I want to know. I'm not sure if I want to know. China does manufacture lots of solar panels. Good luck to them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like the Elon Musk on solar. It's obviously not going to replace our current electrical grid. At least not for, I don't think, generations, probably. But I'm with Elon Musk that if we can, harness some of the power from the sun that's just out there for free, sending energy to the planet, we might as well try to pick up some of them. But I'm not sure trust Chinese stuff. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but has it not gotten worse? Has your faith in anything made in China, has your faith increased or decreased? Because I'm pretty sure for most of us, we're losing, not that we had much faith in I mean, it's not even communist, it's fascist at this point, but I don't know. I have SJV says, "Oh, I have my own solar system." Oh, cool. And it's wonderful, but I paid out the wazoos for batteries. Was it all made in the United States, or made elsewhere or Europe or whatever? Wanda says definitely decreased. Yeah, so Wanda has, before when we would probably be a little bit more tolerant of things that are made in China, I think people understand in business that our Western tolerance for China has collapsed. The first time I ever saw people who just visibly hated China in their country was in Mexico, and maybe 20 years ago, when Chinese companies started to move into. I was in Guadalajara at the time, and they started setting up manufacturing in Guadalajara and outside the outside regions in Jalisco, and it was killing local manufacturing. So people don't know Mexico. Most of Mexico is like Texas. It's like cowboy country. Most of the country, it's pretty wild. If you spend a lot of time there, you see it. And so they have in this particular area I was in, they had a lot of manufacturing of like cowboy boots and saddles for horses, right? Because it's ranch country. And these Chinese companies went in and just because, as my article in Zero Hedge explained, that they would subsidize local businesses outside of China within foreign regions to the point that they could drive out the competition that was from the country, right? And so they would drive out Mexican manufacturers. And that was I remember I test drove, when we went to the MG dealership and I drove an MGF which was never available in Canada. You all know MG. And so I remember I was having that conversation, spending the weekend with some friends of friends and stuff, and it was pretty wild, right? Silver coin. I avoid all Chinese manufacturing products as I can. Price is no issue. Yeah, and I think more and more people are shifting toward that. I think our tolerance for China is just kind of get rid of the Communist Party, and then maybe we'll talk. And I think there's more people like that. We need to rethink corporate-driven hyper growth and embrace slow growth, or I would say slow, steady growth. Yeah, that's true. That would reduce our dependency on Chinese products and migrant labor that we taxpayers subsidize. Rising Guard, 100%. I don't disagree with you. That is the most practical comment I've seen on YouTube on Substack for a long time. Yeah, I think everybody agrees with you. Mm, the actual solar system was about 14K, but and the other thing is when people do like, oh, I'm not going to make my money back. I get that, but sometimes it's kind of nice to have a hedge. Not put all your eggs in one basket, the one electrical grid, and maybe you can have something that's independent. That's just kind of how I think. But yeah, maybe I'm just, it's not paranoid. Just I always like to hedge my bets with different things. All right, so we discussed this last time, and some people asked me about the video Trump the Showman, and we discussed Whitney Cummings. And Whitney Cummings was talking about Trump, and that a bunch of people were invited to roast Trump. and she seemed to have a similar experience as Bill Maher. So let me try and pull that up here. And so I'm gonna have to do this again. I gotta figure a way to do this more smoothly, but I'm gonna let it load up. And then I'm gonna go on this one. Oh no, I have to do that. Here's the problem. So I have to make Chrome my default browser. Oh, kill me, please. I don't want to do that. I'm not, I have to use Chrome for the live streaming. It's more stable, but I don't like Chrome for, I keep that segregated. That's the podcast. Okay, let me stop here and I'm going to try. First, I'm going to share on the main feed. And by the way, if you're listening on Spotify, don't worry. You don't have to see this to understand it. But again, this is the experimental broadcast. So that goes there. And so that's one. And then we're going to go to Substack because I want everybody on Substack to be able to see as well. Yoink. Yoink. Okay, there we go. And I guess now, can we see that? Yeah, I got to make it full screen. So I will. And here we go. There it is. Yeah. Does that make sense? What do you think about that? Does that, wait, I've stopped. Okay, there we go. Does that, does that give you, a sense that it's exactly what Bill Maher said? And maybe there is some credence to my thesis that he learned entertainment through Vince McMahon and the WWF. Remember, I was explaining that is his branding tactic. And I had some people ask me that saying, "Oh, I do the dual browser thing too." Okay, over 16 years. Because Bill Maher famously said, like, I see him on TV and then I meet him, and he said, I didn't know who that person was, but it was a completely different person than the person I met with. He said the person that met with was kind and gracious and took criticism and didn't lash out or any of that sort of stuff. And well, how does the well, I can't talk about WWE, but as a kid, it was WWF. How do they operate, right? Like, it is a script and a routine. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you, because some people didn't believe me for whatever reason. So I found this little thing. I'm going to, once again, I got to queue up I think you're gonna like this. I'm gonna queue up this frame, and I'm gonna oh my god, dual browsers is killing me having to do this. But alright, I'll figure something out. Look at this. What's this? Check this out. Look at that. Who's that? The hostile takeover. So what do you think of that? Right? Always the showman. I think that's what the radicalized people on either side who, that's what they don't see. It is a shtick. It's a show. It's entertainment. He understands, I think, if you entertain people, you can get their vote and you can get their support. And I think that's what has been at play, right? Any clips of no, no, I don't no, I that's JV. Come on, man. I was working on this at 6 in the morning. They had to run out to a meeting, which is, by the way, the reason we had to do this a little bit late, and I do apologize. But that if you understand that about Trump, then you understand him and he's not so scary and you realize all the hyperbole and stuff is all BS. I was explaining to somebody early on in 2015, 2016, because I was that's when I was watching Scott Adams. I was already, watching him very regularly. And I remember watching the Scott Adams when he discussed Trump's persuasion abilities the first time with the Rosie O'Donnell comment, which was that Periscope or was that YouTube yet? I don't even remember. Some of you guys may know. But anyways, the if you understand that it's show business, then it's not so scary and it makes a lot of sense. And I explained to some people around that time, it's already started with, once Cialdini joined Hillary Clinton's campaign, the TDS started. Oh, he's a Hitler, he's a racist, he's this, he's that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been listening to him at that time. I'd been listening to him for when did I start listening to Howard Stern? In the 90s, like high school. And Donald Trump regularly was on Howard Stern. And although, I'm not, the kind of New York obnoxious shtick's not really my thing. I'm not a New Yorker type guy. But, he would come on and, yeah, okay, the presentation's maybe a little bombastic like a New Yorker would be, especially one who understands show business. But his opinions were really practical. That was a different time when there were reasonable people on all sides of the aisle. There's always been corruption. There's always been bad on both sides. Now it's excessively to one side, right? But we know there's a world back then where most people were rational before all this foreign money came in to try to get us fighting with each other. And by foreign money, I'm talking Qatar and Russia and the CCP and all that sort of stuff, the Red Green Alliance stuff. And so I'd listened to Trump on Howard Stern, and they were friends or friendly, and he was practical. I mean, for me, as somebody who's always been kind of entrepreneurial and run businesses, like you have to be practical. You have to have ideas and products that resonate and services that resonate with everybody, irrespective of their political worldview. And that seemed to be what Donald Trump was. So when they start saying he's a racist, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You got like the Martin Luther King prize, or so you got the NAACP prize with who was the ones who presented to him? Oh yeah, it was Muhammad Ali and Rosa Parks for all the work that he's done for the black community. It just goes to show you people can be primed or brainwashed to believe anything and have their paradigm completely shifted, which is exactly what Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, that whole crew that is funded foreign money, that's what they're trying to do because they are incentivized, I guess, fiscally and maybe a little bit of brainwashing It doesn't hurt to try to cause Trump the midterms, and it's like unless they got a nice little side deal, which they probably do, but if they don't have a side deal, they're going to be the ones who are targeted by the other side once they get power. If they don't fix the Democratic Party first, and you leave those nunniks in charge, and you give them political power, they'll go after all of them. The same way, like with Iran. Iran in '79, what they used? They used all the student bodies and the leftist socialist groups to fuel a movement to bring the Ayatollah back. And in the first week, he killed somewhere between 30 and 50,000 of them in 1 week, right? That's what they'll do to Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, all of them. But that's politics. If you see politics behind the scenes and how these parties operate, like this is why for some of us it becomes very easy to predict how things are going to go because we've seen how people operate and how they strategize behind the scenes in Digicom and political strategy and whatever. And so much of what you see is not even real, not even close to real, right? Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to identify a voting block, and they're trying to divide up the voting blocks so they can. It's part of their GOTV strategy. So they use modern new media to build out the voting blocks on either side and fight over if there's any independents or undecideds, and try to make their campaigns as efficient as possible. And this is what all the money's used for. It's used to get people usually on the ground, but now it's in social media. As I mentioned before, that's why a campaign costs $2 billion. It's not going to CNN. It's going to movements on the ground and NGOs that are laundering these opinions and brainwashing people and building voting blocks and bringing one union and another union leader together and have them lie to their union members and whatever. Like that's the game of politics in the modern world. It's really kind of gross, which is why I just had enough of it. You try to join to help out, but then, well, you realize very quickly that there is it's like a casino. It's like the Wild West and a casino is the best way to describe how modern politics is. It's pretty wild and can be a little bit discouraging to say the least. All right, so we have this idea that I've been trying to show, which is kind of related indirectly to this, which is cowboy hat communism. And this would be Podcatistan. And I made the prediction how many months ago? I don't think it was a year ago yet. And I started first with the framing, the cowboy hat communism. What do I mean by that? Well, the communists of the modern world are not the Soviet Union. And we struggle with that because it's programmed into our subconscious that Soviets are the communists, They're going to come with their green uniforms and they look like Stalin and whatever. That's not what a communist looks like in the modern world. And it's also different because it's no longer based on workers' rights, because workers' rights largely has been solved around the world. They have workers' rights laws in South America. So it's not the same world it used to be. So now it's all about race, right? That's why you see the Antifa violence. This is all the strategies they use to divide up the Western world. And they tried with the third world, but it's not working. But to divide them up based on race. So there's this tweet out there by Captive Dreamer. Should I try and share a screen again? Yeah, sure. Why not? I got to get into the grooves so I can figure out a smoother way of doing this. So I liked this. I loved this this framing of it. Is that working? Yeah, it's working. Okay. And this is it's so good. Basically, it reads, for those who are listening, we are. This is the comment from Captive Dreamer. It's retweeting a post from Open Source Zone, and it says it's a picture of Tucker Carlson and Graham Plattner. So Tucker Carlson says he plans to meet with Graham Plattner per New York Times, and the comment from Captive Dreamer is, we're just recreating Occupy Wall Street from first principles, right? That's pretty accurate. I think that perfectly surmises what we're dealing with in this modern Podcatistan world. And I made this prediction several months ago that you watch, this whole cowboy hat communism movement, it's going to be built on populism. And what Tucker and Megyn Kelly, all of whom were liberals, and I guess still are, all of them, that whole crew, they are, they see themselves, or I guess the strategists see themselves as the best tool to capture the populist movement. And the populist is everybody. That can be libertarians, it can be classical liberals, people in the working class, truckers, stuff like that. And they're going to try to use this mechanism to grab the populist wing of MAGA and break off just enough of them to cost Trump the midterm elections. I think that's what I suggested, what's going on. And now you see Tucker Carlson, who's now continues on this, defending Sharia law. Remember, Sharia law has done more for the Middle East than capitalism's done for the West. He's clearly drunk. He's got to be drunk when he says that. And for those who know, Graham Plattner, he's a grassroots guy. Post 2018 in Maine, kind of his repertoire includes local organizations with groups like Acadia Action. These are local groups in Maine, Mutual Aid, and other progressive causes through Maine's Populist Alliance. Sounds a little Antifa to me. Focused on economic justice. So that's definitely Antifa. Housing and anti-corporate themes. Oh yeah, ding, ding, ding. All the check boxes have been marked off. And, it echoes some of these sentiments. They're criticizing the oligarchy of Wall Street influence and billionaires. Is that AOC? No, apparently that is Tucker Carlson now, I guess. But can you see that this is the attempt to bring people who are disenfranchised and frustrated? That's what the populist movement seems to always grab people on the grassroots level. People really aren't, don't really care about politics, but they're just fed up. And they're trying to grab them, utilizing the Podcatistan mechanism, Dave Smiths and all of them, and pull them away from Trump to cause total and utter chaos in the American system post November. It's amazing. That's why I keep putting this slogan up on X. These are examples that not all whores have sex for money, and that's my framing of Tucker Carlson, Podcastan, Dave Smith, all the rest of them. Right? Just friggin' whores. Yeah, Joe Kent is another one. Same of them. All of them are. I don't know if they're left wing or right wing, but I think they're no wing. They're the money wing, and whoever's paying, they're going to, right. Is Israel brainwashing Trump? No, Israel doesn't have the resources to brainwash Trump. It's really interesting that people get this perception. That's why I encourage people, go to Israel, go see what it's like. Go to El Salvador, then go to Israel, or maybe go to Panama, go to Israel. Maybe they're more similar. But it's the size. It's a country the size of El Salvador. Throughout their history, to the frustration of the Israelis, and any Israeli that understands geopolitics will tell you, every time, like even when I was there, I was in Israel once. I was there 20 some odd years ago. Even there in the north, they were telling me, because I traveled, I spent a lot of time in one city at the beach and then went to a few other cities with some people I met there. They were, lobbing what they call karshutim. The rockets were flying into northern Israel, into Haifa, which, by the way, Haifa's half Arab. It's half Muslim and half Jewish, like that city, which is wild. But all the karshutim, the rockets, were being fired in by Hezbollah and this was in 2000, the year 2000, 2001, something like that. And it's been going like that for 25 years. You wonder why the Israelis are fed up and tired of this. And then in 2005, they gave them Gaza because they promised the Palestinians, or the UNRWAs is what I call them. The UNRWAs promised them, because they're created by UNRWA. They're not, the Jews are actually the Palestinians, or actually the Israelis are the Palestinians. The UNRWAs promised them, give us Gaza and we'll have peace. They gave them Gaza. The first day they burned all the greenhouses. I'm sure you've all heard this. And then they started firing rockets from the south as well. So now they have rockets from coming both places, from Lebanon and from Gaza. And then every time Israel went in and they would target the people that were, the Hezbollah extremists, PFLP, all these organizations that they're just. You ever seen Back to the Future? You remember Back to the Future? The first scene when you first see the DeLorean, which by the way, the soundtrack for that car DeLoreans don't sound like that. That was a Porsche 928 S4 that they dubbed in. But anyways, that first scene, remember the Libyans? Remember the Libyans with the RPG in the Volkswagen Bug? Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. That's what they are dealing with all the time. And so they inevitably have to go in and send in Israeli forces to stop the rockets from coming in. They get success and they want to put it out for good. And they get like 80% of the way, like George Bush with the first Gulf War. They get 80% of the way there. And then the Americans say, okay, now stop. And what do you mean, stop? Let us finish the job. This is why so many of us are screaming about Iran. For once, just finish the job. Just finish it. Like, God, that's what fuels the military-industrial complex. Is not finishing the job. By the way, for people who believe in that framing, and there is some justification for it. There's no question. So yeah, that's. I don't know why we're talking about Israel so much. I don't really want to talk about Israel, but whatever. So, anyways, that's I was going somewhere there. I don't remember what it doesn't really matter. You get the point. Get the point we're at. It's a country the size of El Salvador. Great beach, by the way. Not quite as good as the west coast of Florida, but the beaches are pretty good. Sail, it's fun. It's a good place. Good clubs if you're into that, and if you like ancient history, it's the only place you can go in the Middle East and see truly ancient history without getting killed. like like Callum just went to Iraq and he went to Syria. And he's in Afghanistan a couple of years ago. So he's gone to those places because he's wanted to see what's going on the ground and talk to people and interview them. If you haven't followed the YouTube channel Britannica, check it out. That's what I'm talking about. And Callum, he went to in Iraq, and I told him, please send me a video, take some pictures, whatever, because I've always wanted to go there, right? Is where Moses was born. That's like, and not because of Moses, but that was one of the first Sumerian cities or civilizations in existence, right? And the ruins are still there. But if you want to go to the ruins in Iraq, you're going to get killed. I mean, you're just going to, unless you have a contact and you know somebody and you know who to bribe and all that sort of stuff, you're going to get kidnapped, mutilated, slaughtered, or killed, potentially, right? But if you go to Israel, you are in a Western country. And that is why there are no Christian sites that you can go visit throughout the Middle East without getting killed. But if you go to Israel, you can go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You can go to the Sea of Galilee. They have a tour especially for that. People like Jonathan Hessen will talk about all the initiatives they do for Christians because they want them to be part of their culture and they want Christians to be able to visit their historical sites. I've seen them, right? But you don't get that anywhere else in the Middle East because you get killed, right? It's just pretty wild what Tucker and Podcatistan are brainwashing people to believe. But there you go. It's not. That's why I often say, and Scott said this too, and we have similar training. That's why the facts don't matter. Unfortunately, it's the emotional framing that really matters most. But anyways, let's get on to some good news. Got some good news. I got an article here. I hope you'll agree this is good news. I think this is good news. Tucker Carlson might not think this is good news, but let me, because later, okay, shut that down. I'm just going to be pointing. I'm testing this all out. This whole, I know it's a little bit annoying to give me the 5 seconds I need to get things set up because it disrupts the flow. I get that. But I am doing my best here for all of you. So let me go over to Substack and again, if you're listening on Spotify, thank you. I love you for it. And you'll see this as well. And this is an article from Z News. And News likes to have spam on here. And can we stop? Oh my God. This is so frustrating. I hate these websites that they just fill them full of window after window. So Greece cracks stay down on, hold on, let me see if you can. Greece cracks down on Athens. O over maybe play like Canada could do that. Greek authorities have identified 60 illegal mosques in Athens and announced their closure along with legal action and deportation of those operating them unlawfully. The Greek government has launched a major campaign to shut down illegal mosques in Athens, citing growing concerns over extremism, public safety, and violations of national law. Authorities have identified at least 60 unauthorized mosques in the capital during the first phase of the operation. They're probably masjids, with plans to close them and deport those found running them illegally. And the issue is, and this is rampant in Canada, unfortunately, these people are now tethered to our parliament and our government through political entryism, and they're trying to do that in the United States. That's what the squad is, by the way. For those of you who don't know, the squad, which came about in 2014, Ilhan Omar and the other three retards, that's all Qatari money, is what that is. And that's to fuel this extremism. And that's why you're having like the Epic Center in Texas and all these kind of extremist communities. There's one, they just bought 36 acres in Boca Raton. They want to build an extremist community. So it's not just a mosque now. They want to build a whole neighborhood and a school and whatever where no whites allowed. It's it's pretty wild. Or sorry, no kafir is allowed, right? You can be white, you just can't be kafir. You can't be a non-believer. And congratulations to the Greek government for saying enough of this BS. They are all Muslim Brotherhood, so we are deporting them and banning them from our country, and we are closing their extremist mosques. And those are the mosques where you see if you watch Memory TV and you see all the hate preaching. That's where this all comes from, and that's what they are referring to. So I do like to share good news, and there you go. There's good news. Oh, I guess you didn't see it on. Did you not see it on Substack? Let me try that again. Let me go to Substack. Remember, we're testing, we're prototyping here today. So let's share a window. I got to figure out what I do wrong. I'm going to click here. Now, let me go over to Substack. Now you can see it if you're on Substack. So Greek cracks down on illegal mosques in Athens over extremist concerns. And the website, it's an Indian publication. The Indian news seems to be best on covering all the Islamic terrorism and extremism around the world because I guess because they're predominantly Hindu. And India gets a lot of flack lately. But one thing I do admire about India, they don't give an F about political correctness. They do not care for a second about political correctness. So, kudos to India for still maintaining some level of testosterone that people in the West seem to have forgotten. Right? Yeah, flavor. What a concept. Shut down a mosque. Yeah, you go figure. When the guys like, yeah, kill the kafir, kill America, death to America. When they're in America, yeah, maybe you shut that stuff down. Like listen, I am a free speech guy, and I hover around free speech absolutism. And I largely say I am, but then there's that quote I love from Captain Picard, which is, he doesn't say we're not autistic, but that's my interpretation of that life is an exercise in exceptions. And sometimes there's the very rare circumstance of an exception, like an insurgent terrorist group within your country that wants to destroy your country from within. Maybe that's when we stop, right? But how will they get the Hezbollah out of Lebanon? Well, that is what Israel is trying to do. So Podkadistan is trying to brainwash people. I saw it was Tucker Carlson. 300 Lebanese were just killed this weekend. Hey, dipshit, 300 Hezbollah fighters. Like, he's such an asshole. He really is such a piece of shit. Sorry for the language, but that's what's going on. So I've never seen somebody so blatantly lie to his audience. And it's only a matter of time till his audience realizes, okay, regardless of, the brainwashing, the guy's just freaking, he's such a liar that it's evil at this point. And so anyways, that's what it is. All right. So Where was I in my little thing here? So okay, so that's the good news, right? The good news is that they are being shut down. All right, I want to get into this little topic. This is from think before. Well, it's related to a video, and this is just a general topic. I think will resonate with most of you. Well, I'm way over time today. What? Who cares? Let's get this done because this I think you'll enjoy this because I don't think people have considered this side of it. And what I want to talk about is welfare systems for migrants. There's a whole bunch of political reasons behind the scenes why, the gears behind the machine, why politicians feel so compelled that they have to support welfare initiatives. And it's not actually malicious. It's just a Dilbert cartoon. It's Hanlon's razor. Most things are stupidity, can be attributed to stupidity, not malice, which I guess is the whole theme of Dilbert. And by the way, next week, I think we're going to talk, maybe next week, in detail about this intersection of Dilbert, Scott Adams, and where he developed his framing of systems thinking. It doesn't like all things, no inventions are the eureka light bulb moment we all take from other people that inspire us. And Scott Adams was no different with this whole idea of systems versus goals. It's pretty fascinating. But, anyways, in terms of the political system and welfare for economic migrants. So, before I start, and this particular video discusses the H-1B. By the way, there's also H-2B. There's a whole bunch of visas like that. Everyone says H-1B, and all of a sudden they're an immigration expert. There's a whole wide range of TN type visas that can be used, and not for malicious reasons necessarily. I don't think they're initially for. And maybe I'm more aware of it because my closest friend is an immigration attorney in the United States, so I know a lot about this from the many decades of us being friends and just having casual conversation about this stuff. He's taught me a lot. So I am actually, I mean, I'm not against economic immigration that's legal. But the problem is, it's been so abused for decades by scam artists that it's caused so much chaos now. And that's why it's got to be either shut down or massively, massively reduced. And people that are in the United States need to be, I don't know, reprocessed. Their status needs to be reevaluated. I don't know if that's really the fair way to do it, but at least, stop the bleeding is the best way to go, right? So there is, I've queued up this. There's a copy button here that might help. This is from a really good YouTube channel. I think you will all enjoy because, again, I like the people who are not like extreme to either. Oops, hold on. I like the people who are not extreme to either side, that they understand arguments on all sides and who are not ideologues. The ideologues have their place, but they you can't put everything in the hands of ideologues. You have to have people that are also pragmatic, the business type people who can see the entire chessboard, who can kind of work through things, right? Hubby7 says, Dugan, what's his first name? His first name is Alexander Dugan. Tucker's had him on his podcast, and I want to look up the connection between him and Tucker. Yeah, check it out. Tucker's had him on, and they've been communicating. You can tell by Tucker's behavior. Again, as Scott would talk about it, the hypnosis filter. You can tell by his behavior and him parroting Dugan points that they now have regular communication. They talk regularly. I can see by his behavior. That's why there's such a great shift. Sid, hey, keep going. This is great stuff. Well, thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate it. Shut Moss, deport to the country of origin, and prosecute the realtors selling land for segregated neighborhoods. And it's interesting. You bring up a point, Flavor. It's also mortgage brokers. There is so much terrorism, money laundering in mortgage brokers in the West. It's unbelievable. That's I'm going to stop it there, but you'll get the idea. If you start looking into it, probably in your local area, you'll see it as well. Anyways, so let's go to. I'm going to share again. Let me shut that little window. At some point, I think what I need is I need one of those. What are they called? That little shortcut button machine, whatever it's called. something caster or whatever. My mind's drawing a blank right now. But all right, let's set up Substack so you guys who are so important are included and everyone can see this. Let me just see what the Substack see. Okay, we'll put that there. And then we're going to go over to here, this little part. So this is, I'm just trying to queue up this idea of the abuse that's occurring amongst the US and Canada. Canada's so much worse. Canada is so much worse with the abuse that's going on. I'll go into more detail on that another time. But let's watch this little bit here. It's pretty short. It's just a segment from a longer video and you can find it on YouTube. But it's great. Let's see. Ah, living the life. So they're stealing from the food banks. They're going to the food banks pretending they have no money and stealing all the money, all the food that's supposed to go to homeless people or poor people. So it's so what an a-hole. You know, like who goes and raids the food bank? But there you go. That's the whole idea of the fact that they have at least in this individual, a completely different value system. Flavor says, is Steve Bannon influenced by Dugan, you think? Yeah, he was the first one. He met with Dugan in 2017, if I'm mistaken. But you're seeing the pattern. It's the same narrative coming all out of all of these people that are Podcastan. Every single one of them has met with Dugan. And if you watched Scott Adams, he taught you, and I'll explain it too because we have the same training. We'll do this over time. He taught you exactly how people can be influenced if people have the right training. Spoiler, Dugan has the right training. But anyways, that's so we'll discuss more of that. So now Canada has this system as well as the United States, and it's. I mean, this is what happens when you have this degree of immigration in mass, and they're economic migrants. I know porque yo puedo hablar español. I speak Spanish. I go to Latin America. I talk to people, and they tell me they know they're coming here because they want to make money. That's why, and they're not necessarily malicious and evil. But this is pretty malicious and evil, stealing from the food bank at the university campus. And you know, the students on campus, they're programmed, ooh, brown person, therefore he's dumb. We have to give him food. But what I was wondering about this, and again, because I have, as those of you may know, I have a passion for Latin America and traveling there and getting to know the various cultures. And I have lots of friends there as well. I have friends who have moved. I left Canada for obvious reasons to many places around the world. And let's say you wanted to leave America or Canada or a Western country, because it's universal for all of them, and you're an economic migrant and you say, you know what, I want to leave and go move to, I chose a few countries that I know of people that go to. I chose Panama, and they're all, it's all of these third world countries that has the exact same policies. But I looked at Panama, Colombia, Brazil, Thailand, and the Philippines. Let's get the whole globe. I mean, Europe, Africa. Well, let's go to Africa. I mean, that's another issue. No one's going to South Africa, right? But most of us want electricity. But so what happens? Um, for in the governmental system, if you are from the Western system and you want to go, you want to go retire in some tropical paradise, can you become an economic migrant and to go there? Will they subsidize you to move there? Now, yes, this is an oversimplification. I get it. We're just trying to compare the difference between how the United States and Canada and the Western world deals with economic migrants. What are their policies and strategies versus what does the third world do? Well, in Panama, which is really nice, by the way. If you haven't been to Panama, check it out. You'll like it. It's a little bit hot, but everybody likes it. Unless you go into the mountains, it gets a little cooler, like all of Latin America. So for Panama, we'll start with Panama. U.S. or Canadian citizens can obtain residency via pensionado visas, which require proof of $1,000 U.S. monthly pension income, or the friendly nation's visa with $300,000 in real estate business investment, typically shown via bank or pension records. So to go to Panama, you have to have a stable income of $1,000 a month, or you have to bring in $300,000 worth of capital to purchase real estate or invest in a business. All right, Colombia. You need to go from, we have economic migrants that come from Colombia to Canada and the US. What happens if you want to go to Colombia? Well, if you want to go to Colombia, you need to show proof of monthly pension or passive income of around $1,400 US dollars via bank statements and pension documents for the pensionado, or what's it called? The residency visa. So you want to go to Colombia, you have to show that you have regular income of 14. It's a brilliant idea because then you don't have people. And by the way, $1,400 in Colombia, that's like $6,000 a month in the US. Your money goes a lot further in the third world. It's very important to understand that things are not equal. They're very different. It's I have friends who rent really nice apartments in Colombia, in the cities, for $500 a month, $600 a month, right? In Brazil, or Brazil, I hate seeing Brazil with a Z, but anyways, for Americans, it's what the letter Z is actually a Z. Sorry, I know you're going to get angry with me. Throw your popcorn at the screen. So to go to Brazil, if you want to be a digital nomad or you want to retire to Brazil and you decide, screw this, I'm getting out of the US or Canada or the UK, I want to go to Brazil. Well, you can get a digital nomad or retirement residency visa, which requires proof of $1,500 to $2,000 in monthly foreign income or savings via bank records. E-visas now needed for entry as well. So Brazil, you need to have $1,500 to $2,000. Thailand, how about Thailand? Well, Thailand, you can get a retirement visa if you're above the age of 50, which requires $1,900 monthly income or a $24,000 deposit into a Thai bank plus health insurance. You mean I can't just go there and collect welfare like everybody does in the United States and Canada? I have to prove that I have an income? Interesting. What an idea. And then lastly, the Philippines. And you can check any other countries for this. The Philippines, if you want to move there, you can get what's called an SRRV for infinite residency. So I guess it's a non-immigrant visa. And that requires a bank deposit of $10,000 to $50,000 USD. Lower if you're 50 plus, with $800 monthly pension proof via inward remittance to an accredited bank. Notice that, right? We can't go there and say, hey, I can't go to Brazil and say I'm a refugee from Canada, which is being overrun by communism. Please give me welfare. I would never do that anyways, but I can't do that. No, I would have to show them I have $2,000 of a monthly income, or get the F out. You're not getting a visa. Isn't that great, right? Because there's no justification. And I know people are going to say, wow, they're refugees and these. I understand that. But remember, we're going from the first world to the third world, right? And they will never process a refugee claimant from the first world to the third world. It's not even an option. I know somebody tried to do it as a joke in the US to claim refugee status because of Trudeau, the blackface Trudeau regime. And it was a joke, right? Nobody takes that seriously. So if you wanted to go to another country, you get it up the rear. You need to prove everything or they won't let you in. My point is, why don't we have these requirements for all economic migrants in America or Canada? You want to be an economic migrant? Great. Show us a proof of income. You do work from your laptop? Are you a developer or whatever? No, you're not. Okay, sorry. Boom, you're not getting it. But we don't. And why don't we? Scott Adams people will know this because design of the system is the destiny of the system, which is exactly what we're dealing with. How does that make you feel, right? Flavor Argentina. I think our Milei is opening it up. He might be one of the first countries that's actually trying to encourage people to move to Argentina. But good luck with Argentinian Spanish. Even I struggle with that. But yeah, I just thought it's pretty wild. Nobody's considering what about if we're going in the other direction, right? Um, I think SJV says I think you're wanting the mini keyboard that will integrate OBS Studio. I did a lot of research on this lady. It's called Stream Deck. I think it's called is what I'm looking at. What I'm thinking about Stream Deck. It's like a little panel with like 9 or 15 buttons or something that you can pre-program. That might be what I need, but I want to keep things mobile because I'm going to be traveling a lot, and I want to be able to stream while I'm traveling. And on that note, by the way, if you are near Ireland, I'm going to be giving a keynote, and I'm going to be on at least one panel, maybe more, at the Bitcoin conference in Ireland on the 22nd of May. So if you do like to travel and you want to go see Ireland and you want to meet some of the protesters, because apparently some of them are coming to the conference, and we're going to discuss what happened in Ireland, and not in a combative way towards the government, just kind of lessons learned, compared notes, how to inspire people, keep it all positive. That's going to be the end of this month in Ireland, so you should join us. There are very few countries where you can go for free. I do know the UAE will basically pay you to move there. Will they? It could be. Maybe that's why a lot of people are going there. I know the UAE is very favorable. I mean, all parts of the UAE, whether you go to Abu Dhabi or Dubai, they're very favorable to Western investment or Western business. I thought you have to make. I thought you do have to do a investment in the country, but maybe not. You might be right. Right. So yeah, I saw the link there. I appreciate it. I'm going to. Can I copy that? Yes, I can. Oh, it's on Amazon. Okay, thank you, SJV. I will. I'll check that out and I will do some research. So I say all of that not because I think people should harbor frustration for migrants. We have to be. Yeah, there you are. Oh, I just hold on. How do I turn that off? Okay, I should use that more, shouldn't I? I guess, but then I can't do it on Substack, right? That's anyways. On Substack, the video has no sound. We can see it but not hear it. Oh, God, killing me. And it's I guess what I gotta do, Tara, thank you, Tara, for showing me that. I think maybe what we need to do with Substack is I gotta figure out if I'm gonna do video sharing and stuff, maybe that's when I have to use the RMTP. And then when it's just a vlog and us talking together, then I can do what I need to do. I need to do this now for the shorts. It's kind of a process and a system I've developed. But Tara, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a big help. And I apologize to everybody on Substack if you haven't heard the sound of all of those things. I will figure it out. I promise. Things will get better. Work in progress, right? It's duct tape and glue here, like the Red Green Show. All right. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. I think I'm not against economic migrants, but I am in favor of having a standard for people, because even if it's you got to generate an income of $1,500 a month working remotely, that's an incentive for people who want to, like, if would you have a problem if people who wanted to be economic migrants to come to the United States, that the first thing they would have to develop an income or a certain amount of savings, and then only then can they apply to come to the United States And welfare is not an option. It's not an option. You need to show that you have savings, and maybe your visa will correlate to your savings or your income for a certain period of time. So you get a visa to work for a company for a year because you have a year left in savings. And then if you're able to amass more savings while you're in the United States, then you can get extended for another year. How about that? Something like that. And it's a non-immigrant process. That meaning you people may not know there are immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas. An immigrant visa is a visa that you get that can convert into a green card and then eventually permanent residency, which I guess is what your green card is, and then eventually apply for citizenship, which usually takes a decade or something like that, right? But then there are non-immigrant visas where that is not an option. You can never convert that visa into an immigrant visa, which is why they do anchor babying, and that's why the Trump administration is trying to put an end to that. That if you're because that becomes the loophole for non-immigrant visas. And listen, there's always going to be some loopholes. You're never going to be able to close them all, but because there's so much abuse that's going on, I guess they feel like they have to do something, right? The Trump visa that comes to mind was the 1 million. I think it's a $5 million visa. Yeah, $5 million investment visa, which I think is in the right direction, right? That might be a little excessive, but if you show that you have some sort of income to afford an apartment or food, like a shared apartment or something, just to get off the ground, I don't think people even who are against mass immigration would have a problem with that. I think they would say, okay, well, if you're not going to be dependent on my system and you can contribute and you are financially stable, then yeah, sure, you can come here, work for a couple of years, no skin off my back. Doesn't really bother me. You can pay into our taxation system, help improve the country, and develop a skill, and then eventually move back home after 5 years, and maybe you'll have saved enough money that's going to make a significant impact on your local economy back home. Great, everybody wins in that scenario, right? Marcella described it in the after party how scary it is to become a permanent resident. Well worth listening to. It was the latest episode. I will try to give that. I'll try to give that a listen. So thank you, SJV. You got. By the way, thank you all for coming here and giving your opinions and ideas. I really do appreciate it, and I love that slowly the locals community is coming alive. You're all great for that. Marcel said she had friends that basically broke the rules and got kicked out of the country. Yeah. And they get banned for something like 10 years or more, right? Which is, by the way, they get banned and kicked out. This is where I get on side for the economic migrants and I get so angry because they get banned and kicked out. Okay, fine. They get back, they get kicked out, they get banned and whatever. They broke the rules. I'm actually more sympathetic to those people. That's why I want to have a system like this so people can fairly try to integrate and come here with some stability. But it's when you have the laundered money to a terrorist mosque where the guy's preaching death to America, kill the Jews, kill the Christians, kill the Shia, whatever. They do all that sort of stuff. And he doesn't get touched. No, no, no. That's the first one who needs to be deported. Deport them first because they're just a gang. The Muslim Brotherhood is just a gang, like the Bloods or the Crips or the Mafia. They're just a global terrorist mafia that shouldn't be anywhere near your country. And that's when I feel a lot of empathy for people because I've known people who've come here illegally to the West, and I'm sympathetic to them. I get they just want to improve their life, and especially when they're in Mexico and they're living in an area where they're surrounded by narcos and gangs and cartels. Like, yeah, you would want to get out there too. So I'm much more sympathetic to those people than anybody. So you got to give them a path that's reasonable, but that they won't be dependent upon the U.S. welfare system. That's all I'm suggesting, right? Yeah, SJV says I have no problem with people who do that legally. Anyways. All right, so I think that's going to be it for today. I just want to close off by asking some of you. I know, Jess, who's not here right now. The girls who are here in the morning. They've been doing the 5-minute journal exercise, this reframing exercise I talked about. which is where you wake up every day and you ask yourself, what are three things you're grateful for? And what are three things you're going to do to make today amazing? And over time, it starts to really make a difference. And what they've been doing is that they've been posting it in the Discord. They've been, Beth, I think, was the last one. She posted her three things she's has gratitude for. And I'm thinking maybe we'll build a channel for that in the Discord for your, well, maybe we'll call it the three things, where you post your three things of gratitude and the three things that you're going to do to make today amazing. I know a lot of you haven't started it yet, and I encourage you to do so. If I keep saying it every day, I'm sure you will try it at some point. It's really going to help, I promise, because we can talk about all this stuff, but it doesn't really get to you, right? Like, it doesn't really affect you emotionally. You can have like a pragmatic approach to it. If we do that with all the situations in the world that make people enraged when they really shouldn't be enraged as much as cool, calm, collected, and all right, let's figure out a solution together. Like, I think we've just figured out a solution for migrants coming to the West. Let's just adopt the policies that their countries have in reverse and have a standard and encourage them. And maybe maybe the U.S. has a consultation program where, well, not the U.S., but it's always going to be NGOs that it's going to set up. But then they get so corrupted by illegal money that they end up just doing all the work for them. So I guess I don't know. I don't know how to end corruption for from human beings. Sorry, that's a tall order, right? But I don't know. I hope that bringing this up helps shed a light on some of this stuff, and maybe we can find some balance for getting people who are on the opposite side of these issues to find some common ground, right? And to find a way that we can make everybody happy, and nobody's going to be 100% happy with change, but maybe we can find acceptable change that's acceptable to everybody, right? That's just kind of how I look at it. AK, it's good to see you. All right. So, on that note, I think I'm going to call it a day. I want to thank all of you. And Tara, thank you for that. Yeah. Tara just says the lack of sound was for her at least. Like I said when I started, this is a test stream. So we'll see what works and what doesn't work. And I know, as JV, you mentioned OBS. I had Streamlabs before. Didn't like it. The Rumble one's more simple. I like, keep it simple, stupid sort of thing. But that's why I'm trying. It's that balance. Scott always talked about systematizing your process, which I originally learned that from CGP Grey, and seemed to learn it from Scott, and Scott seemed to learn it from somebody else, but he had a large part of the innovation in it. So I like not just to systematize things, but I also want it to be as simple as possible. For me, the system is important, but simplicity is just as important. And Scott actually talked about that too when he said, this is why he often said, one little change in complexity can have a severe effect, can compound in the ability to disrupt things in your system. And so right now, the encoder, I found that is the most simplistic. That's It's that balance between simple and effective to systematize has been Rumble Studio. And I'm just very apprehensive of going back to Streamlabs, which is magnitudes more complex than the Rumble encoder. But I might do that. We'll see. I do a mixture of OBS, which is what Streamlabs is, a version of OBS, and Rumble Studio. So trying to simplify and have few major scripts. So yeah, exactly. So you're in the same boat as I am, right? All right, Flavor, see you later. And AK, see you as well. Everybody on Substack, thank you very much. I'll have the audios uploaded probably the end of today. I got to work on Not on Record. Oh, yeah, tonight, 8 p.m., Not on Record is episode 210. If you're around, come join the live chat. Always looking for input from, especially you guys are so great in the live chat. And Joseph is often in the live chat as well. So feel free if you have time at 8 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Pacific. Is that right? I think I got it right. Come join us. And otherwise, I will talk to you all soon. Have an amazing week. And remember, be kind to strangers. It's going to make you feel a lot better about yourself. And it's going to change somebody's life more than you realize it. All right. Have a good day. We'll talk to you